Laughing Ogre once again. Once in a while, as Americans, I have a whole video on it, so I'm not going to belabor it, but we want to believe that we have the corner on the market on freedom. But hang on a second. I swear, I think I hear something. What is that coming? What is that sound? So if you don't recognize that intro song, well, then you just ain't cool, are you? Because that means that today, I'm going to have an easy job, because my friend, TheBritisher, is going to lay a little reality down on you.
Dear Professor Moriarty, somehow I feel I should be wearing a deerstalker for this piece, but I fear my trusty white pith helmet will just have to suffice. I also do not happen to own a meerschaum smoking pipe. I know. You must have heard them all by now. I was pointed toward your video Look Me in the Eye by a helpful viewer called Mateusz Kaczmarek in the comments section of one of my clips. He was interested to know what I made of it. So, always game for a challenge, I took a look. Now the link in question has since been taken down, and I am not sure whether you have not withdrawn entirely from YouTube. But I will give it a go nonetheless. Someone else seems since to have uploaded the video. I will post a link to said clip in the notes.
And right off the bat, I'm not going to cut it a bunch, but oh my goodness, the man took it down. The title is Look Me in the Eye, and he wants all of us that don't really want our name out there so that you social justice morons can break our rice bowl. Anonymity is my protection. Now listen to the Britisher.
It will come as no great surprise to you, given the nature of my delivery, that I seek to argue in favour of anonymity and avatars. Now in your video, you touch on the virtues of anonymity. You mention the benefits to someone writing under a repressive regime. But what exactly makes for a repressive regime? Many would argue, myself included, that the current social justice politics are highly repressive. The chilling effect of present-day law and social justice militancy is such that people seem to be expected to take considerable risks in exercising free speech. I know you will think the following falls under what you already dub frustrating misrepresentations, but I feel it nonetheless applies. As an academic, you find yourself in a fairly free role as to regard of free speech. I know free speech to you is also not without consequence, but academics are granted quite a bit of leeway in our society. We want our academics to view all manner of things through the prism of their respective expertise. But not all people outside the confines of universities do necessarily enjoy the same degree of liberty. One need not live in North Korea to have something to lose by free speech. Especially when the doctrine one opposes has become mainstream, and the militancy of activists is such that they will readily end someone's career by persistent slurs of racism, sexism, and various other isms.
Yeah, no kidding. Anybody remember Dr. Matt Taylor? And what happened to him in October 10th of 2014? This man landed a spacecraft on a comet, but because of a shirt that a woman gave him. Oh my. Britisher, would you please continue?
One well-known YouTube skeptic has in recent months even been accused of paedophilia with no evidence whatsoever. So this is the climate in which many will choose to operate as avatars. As for your quoting Schopenhauer, I can but ask, did Mr. Schopenhauer actually think well of anyone? I mean, for one of the world's great pessimists on humanity to think badly of anonymous writers is perhaps not quite as telling as you make it out to be.
You see, Schopenhauer, I know who he is, the Britisher knows who he is, but this professor is betting that you don't know anything about him, so he can quote him and take him out of context. This stuff makes me sick. Britisher, please, just take over. I'm going to lose my... God, just...
Now, when it comes to piling bile and vitriol onto other YouTubers, as you so colourfully put it, I strongly agree with you. Your point that it is particularly galling for people to hide behind anonymity, yet to call others precious snowflakes, is well made. Or as I usually put it, the point has merit. In essence, you allege hypocrisy. Rightly so. But does hypocrisy diminish the possible truth of any statement made by people who hide behind anonymity? What I mean is, someone may portray themselves as a devil-may-care daredevil who tells it like it is, with lots of swear words and invective thrown in, whereas he hides in the shadows of anonymity, thus revealing himself to be far from brave. But does that make what he says any less true? He may not prove willing to die atop the hill on which he so heroically claims to plant his flag, but does it really say anything about the cause for which he fights? In short, even a coward can be right, can he not?
If must needs, then please listen to that last section again, as this is, you cannot overstate the point that he just made. Cowards parading around as brave men.
As I recall, while Pompey and Caesar were smashing up the Roman Republic, Cicero was meekly residing at his country villa, hoping for it all to end and to emerge unscathed. Cicero was not the magnificent brave general, yet had it been for him, the Republic would have survived. Courage is a virtue, but it is not the only virtue. Anyhow, I digress. Forgive me, I do that often. Not all anonymity need be cowardice. In some cases it might be caution, in others simple preference. In yet others, it might in fact be that the contributor does not wish to become more important, more prominent than the message. In cases such as Kraut and Tea's, anonymity is outright necessity. Above all, surely the best indicator whether someone's anonymity is cowardly is whether they are bullies or not. Bullies, by definition, tend to be cowards, which means that net anonymity lends itself perfectly to them.
The problem is we've given power to the bullies to the point that they don't have to be anonymous. The bullies have the power. They can come right out and say, you recognize 199 genders and you bow down to this transsexual and worship her, him, he, she like a god, or you will suffer the wrath.
So bullies are indeed a problem. At times it seems as though the internet was created specifically for them. But what if the person not showing his face is not a bully? Vernaculis is clearly a very rational contributor. At times he may grow irritated, but then so do you in your clips, Professor Moriarty. But the quality of Vernaculis' contributions seems to me beyond doubt. So, should we discount his contributions simply for the manner in which they are delivered? Does the content not matter at all? If that is so, then is the position not rather convenient, as it allows for the disregard by default of a great deal of argument? One simply discounts any message which does not meet one's conditions of format. Also, to attack the anonymity of the messenger is to shoot the messenger, is it not? Meanwhile, another contributor who appears highly rational, but who is taking a strong stand against some of the excesses of Islam, is Kraut and Tea. Is your advice that he physically endanger himself in order to meet your criteria for intellectual respectability? Kraut and Tea's position seems not at all to be an abusive one, but his views place him in direct opposition to Islamic migrants and the militants within their ranks. Are you not arguing that he either falls silent or places himself in danger? I know you would include these examples in the virtues of anonymity, but I think there is value in spelling them out. Surely the primary factor is the value of the message, not the manner in which the message is delivered. Else one would be placing style over content, no? Social justice also happens to be the establishment doctrine of the day. This can make it tricky for some publicly to oppose it.
I have to break in here because a good friend of mine is from Serbia, Herzegovina, and I asked them just yesterday what they thought about Slobodan Milosevic, and they had to tell me the truth, that they didn't have a problem with that person. Look him up. In my mind, I still struggle with that, but listen, they release the ideologues. This is nothing new. They're doing it with this new SJW thing. Please listen to TheBritisher and understand. This is the new Crusades. This is the new Christianity. This, Winston, is the new boot that will step on your face for eternity.
For example, businessmen may wish to voice their personal opinion without fearing for their businesses and the jobs of their employees. They may be dependent on government contracts which might evaporate if they said anything publicly which might be deemed not politic. In fact, the same could be the case for a local government employee. These days a great many seem to need to watch what they say, much more so than previously in my lifetime.
Does that make anyone else want to weep until they have no tears?
If I challenge your ideas, you need not be able to look me in the eye, Professor Moriarty. But if I start calling you names, then I ought to have the backbone to do it to your face. That said, maybe people ought not be calling each other names in the first place. In the unlikely event that you actually ever get to view this clip, I must ask, do you really feel at an intellectual disadvantage because you cannot see my face? Does my speaking to you like this diminish you? Does the asymmetry you describe make for an asymmetry of argument? Or is it in the end the contest of ideas that matters?
Boom! That's what you call a smackdown. I'm gonna put that in plain English for those of y'all that can't understand the Britisher's English. He just said you are a moron, Moriarty, and your ideas are not as good as mine. And that is the ogre speaking as the Britisher.
When I read a book, is it the texts which inform me, or the photo of the author on the back of the sleeve? Or should there be no photo, does that make it a lesser book? I do not believe there usually to be photos of Alexandre Dumas, Arthur Conan Doyle, or Charles Dickens on the backs of their books. Shakespeare also rarely appears in person.
That just burned!
Does a newspaper article by a journalist whose photo does not grace the page become a lesser article? Or does the image of the author not matter so much as the name? What about the nom de plume? Has not great work been done under assumed names?
Richard Bachman comes to mind right away. Go ahead, look it up. You'll see whose nom de plume that is. I mean, good gracious. I was going to say us. I am an artist. I'm a musician. I was a preacher. People still call me preacher because I never shut the F up.
So is identity really the measure of things? Whether a man writes an online article as Sir Write-A-Lot 666 or as Stephen J. Lennington III, does it change his article? You may argue that it changes his perspective by disassociation, evasion of responsibility and so on. But his perspective aside, what does it change in yours? The words of the article remain the same. To the value of the content, surely the name attached to it in the end is irrelevant. Is Hamlet a great play, or is Hamlet a great play because the poster outside the theatre says it was Shakespeare who wrote it? Are Elton John's songs diminished because his actual name happens to be Reginald Dwight?
Ooh, you're in trouble. You said he that shall not be named, and you said I had moral fortitude. Britisher kid, man, you got balls, brother.
Anyway, I think you get my drift. So I guess mine is a qualified defense of anonymity. You may be anonymous. You may use your anonymity to criticize what you understand to be bad ideas. But you must remain bound by the restraints of civility.
Listen, the Britisher needs to be anonymous. I need to be anonymous. Many people need to be anonymous because our lives depend on it. I'm going to make a response video to EazyOnMe. And when I do, there will probably be a fatwa on my head. There's a fatwa on Salman Rushdie for the satanic verses. There's a fatwa on Stephen, don't call me Canadian Crowder. I mean, you got to be kidding me. I wanted to let this go on, but I'm making a hard and fast rule that I won't go over 15 minutes. I want to keep you coming back to watch, and I'm not saying that this isn't, and heck, you can go to some of my favorite channels and you can watch for an hour. I'm going to focus on something that's bam, bam, bam in your face and then gets the hell out of it. You listen to this video. There's a link in the description. You listen to everything he has to say and understand he's hiding from the bullies. He's not hiding because he's a coward. I am not hiding because I'm a coward. None of us are hiding because we're cowards. We're hiding, in essence, because we don't want our rice bowl broken. So before I let the Britisher take us out in true British style, I must remind you to be good to the ones you love. To be quick to say you're sorry. Be quick to accept an apology. Love the ones you love, because in a moment you think not, your loved one will depart from you.
Even elementary, my dear Moriarty. That is all from the Cyberpass for now. Thank you very much, and goodbye.